Hi, and welcome to Chapter 1. This week's Chapter 1 is the fourth book in the Maisie Doss Mysteries Echoes of Betrayal. Chapter 1. The warehouse stank like rot, old blood grease, the kind of smell that got under the skin and made you feel like you carried it with you after you left. I paused in the entryway, eyes adjusting to the flicker of the dying fluorescent lights overhead. One of them buzzed, casting a yellow, jittery glow across the concrete floor. The place used to be a meatpacking facility back before the city shut it down for health code violations. Now it had a new purpose, and so did I. I took 2 steps forward, the soles of my boots sticking with every lift. My jacket was too light for the cold seeping through the walls, but I hadn't come for comfort. Hector Alvarez stood at the far end of the room, crouched behind a folding table with a cooler atop it. He looked up when he heard me, eyes narrowing. Stringy hair clung to his cheeks. Trace marks lined his arms. The man was alive, but barely. He was a husk of what he used to be, but he was smart, dangerous, the worst kind of addict, the one who kept climbing. You're late, he said, standing up. This ain't no social call. I stopped 5 feet from him, kept my hands in my jacket pockets, my right hand curled around the transmitter taped to my side. A little red button was all it would take to light this place up with agents, but I wasn't ready quite yet. Traffic was insane, I said. Mm-hmm, he nodded towards the cooler. You got the scripts? Pulled the envelope out slow, let him see my fingers, and then I tossed it onto the table. 20, clean, enough oxy and hydro to keep your people happy for a week. He didn't reach for it right away. He just stared at me, evaluating me. You look familiar, he said. I get that a lot. The corner of his mouth twitched. Then he grabbed the envelope, flipped it open, and gave the scripts a once over. He whistled low. Ooh, somebody went through the trouble. I'm good at trouble, I told him. The kid next to him, barely legal, maybe 20, took the envelope and stuffed it into his backpack. His legs jittered like he was on something fast and mean. Hector turned back to me. How's your appetite? I didn't come here to eat. He smirked. He opened the cooler, and inside were vacuum sealed bags of pills lined like candy. Fentanyl, blue, deadly, and street slick. He pulled one from the bag and tossed it at me. I caught it. Sample! I turned the bag over in my hand. How pure? I asked. Enough to take down a horse. Not that it matters. Your people aren't buying it to sniff. I met his eyes. They held mine. Let the silence stretch just long enough for him to shift on his feet. Then I smiled. You got more? He chuckled. Back room. But you ain't seeing it until I see you're solid. My thumb tapped twice on the transmitter. Not the signal, just the check. The plastic button was still there, still ready. I didn't drive all the way across the river to hold hands, Hector. Either we deal or I walk. Behind me, the back door clinked. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Hector tilted his head. You bring friends? Nope. Then suddenly, everything moved at once. Glass shattered, boots hit concrete, a voice roared, Federal agents, get down! I dropped. My shoulders slammed the floor, cold and hard. My gun was already in my hand when the smoke grenade popped and rolled across the floor, the air filled with gray. Hector reached for something under the table. I kicked it aside and he cursed, stumbling backward. The kid bolted. I didn't follow. 3 agents tackled him by the door. Screams. A taser cracked. Wes Dalton came through the smoke like he was just about another damn Tuesday. Tactile vest, gun drawn, calm like only he could be. He zeroed in on Hector, who was halfway to his feet. Move or I'll put you down, Wes said, his voice like gravel. Hector didn't test him, and Wes cuffed him, handed him off, and came to me. I was standing now, chest heaving, and trying to breathe through the chemical haze. You all right? He asked. I nodded slowly. My throat burned. My heart hadn't even slowed. You did good, he said. I stared at him, at the blood on my sleeve that wasn't mine, at the cooler, at the pills scattered on the floor like Halloween candy. That was your last one, Maisie, he added. You're done. It's official. I didn't say anything. He reached into his vest and pulled out a single folded page. All charges are dropped. You've got a clean record. You can walk away now. It's done. I took it from him. The page trembled in my hand. Outside, blue lights pulsed against the warehouse wall. Someone barked orders. Somewhere, Hector screamed, Free! The word didn't sit right. Hearing it applied to me felt like putting on someone else's clothes. I walked out the door, leaving West to clean up and type anything they needed to do on their end. The night slapped me in the face. Cincinnati's summer air was hot and humid. My boots hit the wet pavement. I could still hear the sirens, taste the warehouse on my tongue. The metallic flavor of adrenaline still coated the back of my tongue as I ducked into the alley behind the busted warehouse, knees cracking from the crouch position. Sirens still closing in, wailed from 3 blocks out. I could still smell the tang of the blood from where Frankie clocked the guy who ran. He was still sniveling on the linoleum inside and cuffed to the table leg when I left. But I wasn't focused on that anymore. I had about 5 seconds to catch my breath before I needed to disappear. Are you good? Came the voice from the comm clipped under my collar, Wes's voice. Calm, steady like always. Peachy, I muttered, pushing myself upright to step over the half-dead potted fern. Tell your boys to stop scaring the civvies. I think one of them wet himself. Where are you? His voice came through. Ducking out of sight, I said, knowing if I saw him, I'd wait for him. The squad was flooding the place. DEA, CPD, U.S. Marshals. Too many badges for one sting, but that was the point. This had to be big enough to end it all. Footsteps sounded behind me. I looked back. Wes was running towards me, his expression unreadable. In his hand was a Gatorade. I stared. Thought you could use some electrolytes. Only if it came with a side of bourbon, I said, grabbing the bottle. I twisted the cap, downed half the liquid, and wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. Hell of a job back there, Doss, he said, low as he stepped closer. 15 months. You finally did it. I leaned against the brick. We did it. You pulled the strings. No, he shook his head. You infiltrated the fentanyl pipeline running out of the old abandoned warehouse. That's no strings. That's straight up guts. I didn't answer. My pulse had slowed. I never did, not right after. I was still halfway in the skin of Katie, the desperate addict, the weak link in the supply chain, the girl who had stolen dog meds for a quick fix, the one they knew me as. They didn't know me as Maisie Doss, the CI, just Katie. I wasn't even sure if I even knew who Maisie Doss was at this point. How's it feel to be free? Wes's voice shifted to something softer as he took a step closer. The last one. I should have felt something. Relief, joy, fear. Instead, I stared at the cracked pavement between my boots where blood had dried into a reddish smear. All charges dropped. Your record sealed. You're done. His southern accent and voice dragged out the words. Then what now? I asked quietly. I go back to Camp Springs and play waitress at the bar while everyone pretends they don't remember my mugshot? Wes hesitated, then said, You start over. You live your life. You be Maisie. Maybe I'm in there somewhere. That was a problem. I didn't know who she was anymore. I'd been living my life as their confidential informant, at their beck and call, given the ID they wanted me to have and the clothes they wanted me to wear. The wind shifted, bringing sirens and the scent of sweat and asphalt. Around the corner, officers barked orders. Someone shouted. I barely heard it. Wes touched my arm and I flinched. It'd been a few months since been intimate. I'm not your handler anymore, Maisie, he said. But I hope I'm still someone. My eyes met his. His were full of something I wasn't ready to name. I need to go home. I pushed off the wall. I gave him one last nod and turned towards the mouth of the alley. The noise was louder now, with ambulances, squad cars, and too many uniforms and too many questions. But I wasn't part of it anymore. I was walking free. And for the first time in my life, I was scared to death. Echoes of Betrayal, Chapter 1.